Friday. The boys are back in town. Good
We are indeed.
afternoon, Reverend Tony. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well, sir. How are you doing?
I am fabulous, my darling. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. It's a pleasure to see you. It's Friday. I'm gonna hang this up out the way because I don't need it now, and say hello to you and hello to everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I've just got to quickly say, I'm sorry. No, you weren't.
No.
Um, Dawny beat you, darling. Dawny beat you. I mean, that was probably about 20 minutes before we started, but it was, it was like, hello, you're late, get on with it. But yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is in the universe from which you are tuning in. Tony, what you been up to, doll?
Not a lot. Not a lot. I've done lots of walking on the beach and lots of thinking and putting the world to rights in my head, as you do. As you do.
Absolutely.
Lots of introspection, which is a bit of a dangerous thing to start
Yes.
because once you start it, where do you end?
I know.
Thinking
Absolutely
everything.
true. Absolutely true. Yeah.
Now
In
that's interesting. Christine Davis' comment has come through
YouTube.
off my YouTube, but my Facebook comments still aren't coming through.
Yeah, that is absolutely the problem. So for those that are watching, and yes, you did, darling. You arrived on well and truly on time, Joanne. Good to see you, doll. Um, you're not actually late, darling. You're well and truly on time. You are live with us. This is not a recording. You've missed nothing but a hello and an intro sequence. So don't you worry, doll. You are with us. You're all with us.
It's all good.
But yeah, if you are watching from one of Tony's feeds on Facebook, Facebook are struggling to feed through the text into StreamYard at the moment. They are working on it. But Tony will keep us abreast of what you're saying, as
I
he
will.
usually does, bless his heart. But let's start with who's joining in on the YouTube and my Facebooks. It is Dawny. Good morning to you. Good afternoon, rather. Good evening.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever.
Whenever it is.
Absolutely. Kaza is indeed in the house. Cherry Ann is in France, but she's also in the bedroom. I'm saying nothing.
Mm.
Daryl is with us. Of course, Joanne is with us, and Christine is with us. Justine is on the bus, but is also with us.
Mm.
And Facebook user. The way she's saying that, I'm wondering if that's mother. She does say morning, boys.
She does. She does.
She does. So
Oh,
it could
unless
be
Eunice just snuck in.
Eunice and Tony. Good afternoon to you. And who have we got coming in from your side, dear?
We have got Claire Lilica. Hello,
Hi,
Claire.
Claire.
Michael is watching. Hello, dear. Leslie Palmer is watching. Jen Gill can't stay as it's carer time, but just saying hello. And Michael says it's dull and overcast in Rotherham.
Yes, it's dull and overcast here. Actually, it's I'm supposed to be
It
having a
is. It
barbie
is.
at Mother's
Yeah.
tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a bit manky here. Suzanne Symes has just commented that it's bright and sunny this afternoon where Suzanne is. I'm so jealous. We need to go wherever that is.
Yes, Suzanne, give us your address. We're coming round for tea.
Yeah.
Jen has jumped on as well. Good afternoon to you, and I'm sure Daniel, who was happy to see our advert, will be linking. Oh, Mum's figured out technology. Yes, it was her. So I know
Yes.
Daniel will be with us at some point too.
He
But
will. He will.
it is a pleasure to welcome you all back for another Friday dose of
Yeah.
philosophy, of chat, of chit chat at tea time, as my other half would call it. Is it chit? Are you having another chit chat at tea time? The sun might be on its way actually, because Eunice, who's only a little bit north or west, north, northwest rather of me, says that the sun has just come out. So depending on the direction of the breeze, we might see a little bit of sunshine later.
Good.
But it is good to have everybody joining us. Remember, please, to share, to like, to subscribe, and all that stuff. Give us some reactions as well, because that does help apparently with the Facebook and YouTube algorithms. But she's on the new tablet, so she's linked in with the new tablet, not the other one.
Oh, nice.
I know, Justine. That is, yeah, it's one of his favourite sayings. Chit chat at tea time. Hello to Shelley. Good to see you. Jen's up in Scotland. Sunny but heavy rain later, so be careful there. And Joanne says my garden is very appreciative for the rain. One less thing to do, although now the sun is out. Yeah, so it's a mixed bag in weather, and it's a mixed bag on everything else. But remember, please, my friends, this is your show. You lead the conversation. You set the scene. You set the tone. You give us something to talk about. Although, to be fair, Tony and I were just very briefly before we came on to see you talking about a phrase that has gone away.
It has.
That was very prevalent and very key to my induction into spiritualism. And that is after those 7 principles that we talk about so often, with liberty of interpretation. I understand the reason why it left us. I personally still cleave to it because I'm, stubborn. But liberty of interpretation, how important is it to our way of life? Is it a good thing that it went by when the 7 principles became a legislation recognized phrase for the Charities Commission, or is it something sorely missed? I know there's a few people on here, I already know exactly what they're saying, but I've always been a big fan of liberty of interpretation because it means that we can all have our own aspect and understanding. But what do you all think? Liberty of interpretation, good or bad or indifferent? Are you indifferent? You can be indifferent, You don't have to get on your high horse about everything. I don't always, but it's very rare. As Tony would confirm.
Yes, I can confirm that. But I think it is one of those that, because even something, the fatherhood of God, quite a simple statement, quite straightforward. However, the whole bus is listening to us. Oh,
yeah, after 3, 1, 2, 3. Hello, bus people.
Hello, buses.
Hello, everyone on the bus. Good to see you.
Yeah. The fatherhood of God, it can still be open to interpretation.
Absolutely.
And I mean, even the word fatherhood can mean different things to different people. I mean,
exactly.
If I talk about receiving a paternal energy or a fatherly energy, I'm not saying that it's a father that's coming through. I'm saying it's an energy that is nurturing, caring, warming, loving. So yeah, I think it's very important to have that.
Yeah, and especially in this modern age. And hello to Sam O'Neill, and hello to all of Forfar Tesco's. Hello, all of Forfar Tesco's. I think you're absolutely right. And one of the things that I know and know from people that are on here and in church, they don't perceive the Great Spirit. I'll come to that in a moment. Let me star you, Jen. For those that don't perceive God as just or in any way a gendered energy, like a father, that liberty of interpretation, it's saying this is a parental energy. This is a parental figure, a creator that gives you a few lessons, leaves you to get on with it, as would be the preferred parental relationship. Being able to say, you know, the fatherhood of God is a principle, but with liberty of how you would interpret that, gives people who see the great white spirit, the universal energy, the source of all creation, however they perceive it. And it was vital to me because I never saw God as an old bloke with a beard sitting on a throne on a cloud somewhere. And I think the liberty of interpretation gives us that latitude of, yes, all right, we might not call God the same thing, but we all have a source that we, you know, send our thoughts out to for help and guidance and affectation and affection,
Yeah.
that would be absolutely excluded if it was, no, it's the fatherhood, that's it. You
Yeah.
know, as so many ways of life actually are.
Yeah. Definitely. Just a couple from my side.
Yes.
Chrissy Weekly, hi. Paul Luke Gouchard, hi. Michael says everything is open to interpretation here. There are no real absolutes. Fair
Here,
comment.
here.
And
Absolutely.
Edgar Claydon, hi. And then Michael points out we are both fathers. There are differences, but in essence, we are still both fathers.
Yeah, quite right. And this is the thing: father can mean many different things to many different people, depending on their own personal experience, and that's where liberty of interpretation comes in. I just very briefly come up. Jen has just reminded me. Nick showed us how God was actually a woman, and I thought was brilliant. What I did was is I said back in the beginning of that circle, did God have a wife? And it caused, as is many of the questions that I put in circles in development. And Jen just said, you know, I don't see why God should be put in a box as long as they are seen as a loving energy. Absolutely agree. And Daryl was just confirming that my questions can be divisive. So I said, did God have a wife? And I went as far as to say, did the God of the Christian Bible have a wife, which made it even more divisive? No, 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 no. So then I talked about Asherah, because if you follow that Christianity is an Abrahamic faith, as is Judaism and Islam, then that Abrahamic faith had a source too, and all of the gods that were involved in that way of life that created the Abrahamic faiths are therefore a continuation. So, you know, we've got El, is one of the names of God. And it's really, really important to recognize that Christianity, Judaism, and Islam all descended from the Canaanite faith.
Yes.
And therefore, El was the leader of the pantheon of the Canaanite faith, who was married to Asherah. So the answer, does the God of the Christian Bible, well, if El was in charge of the pantheon that was Canaanite, who then led the Jews to freedom from slavery, and that was the God of the Jews, then yes, the God of the Christian religion did have a wife.
Yes.
Because we have to look at the history and context. But then you take it a step further, the Gnostic faith, which was formed around about the same time and was involved in Christian development before it became Christianity. Asherah was actually so peeved with humanity that she went back to her original energetic form and actually started birthing more humans. So in actual fact, the Gnostic form, Asherah, was actually more in tune with the original version of that creator energy's self than the masculine was.
Mm-hmm.
That the feminine god was more connected to the original version of itself than the masculine one was. And it was just basically trying to turn things on its head so people could see difference and think about things in a different way. Because what I find is the biggest problem in this way of life is that we get a version or an idea of something and cleave so hard to it that we don't allow ourselves the latitude of different expression, understanding each other's views, and therefore understanding more of the bigger picture. And that was the whole point behind that. Joanne says, yes,
I love
interpretation
that.
is good. Yeah, interpretation is good as I see God as my father, fantastic guide, always loving, very wise, great teacher. But those that lose loved ones tend to think otherwise. Absolutely, very fair point.
Yeah.
Very fair
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
I can see you looking at your screen, so I know you've got your comments from your end.
There's just a couple of points that Michael's obviously on form today. He said, there is a difference, however, between a father and a dad.
Yes.
And then,
Yes.
but if you jump back through creation, did God have a mother or a father?
And this
Ooh.
is where the liberty of interpretation comes in for me, because humans want to put limits on infinity. It reminds me of the old story. And hello, cousin Ruth. Hello, cousin Ruth.
Yeah.
I know. We've dived
Yeah.
in so deep right from the beginning.
Yeah. Paul Luke Gouchard has just put as well, replied to Michael's comment. Oh yeah, like who created God?
Mm.
And
This
here,
is the thing.
yeah, this is where we go with I've had this given to me so many times. It's like, all right, then where did God come from? You know, where did God originate from? And you
Yeah.
know,
And this
it's our brain can't comprehend
infinite.
infinity and the fact that energy can't be created or destroyed; it can just be changed.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you see the divine as energy, it's always been there because it is in itself an infinite source.
Yes. And if we then, carry that forward and in answer to both those thoughts, we cleave to physical understanding, which means we need a beginning. But then it goes back to that, if God created the universe, what was he standing on when he created it? And it was a conversation that me and my granddad had even when I was a kid, really, really young, deep stuff. The point is, there was no rock, there was no nothing. And Eunice has nailed it. She's already gone where I was going to go. She says, I enjoy not knowing because that is the magic. I totally agree, because I think if we knew everything, if we could understand everything, there'd be no point of the journey. There'd be no point of the journey. Cherry says, thank you. This is my interpretation of God. We are all energy. And absolutely right. If we put limits and boundaries on things, then the logical conclusion to that subject matter is that we will always be fighting about what came before it, what came before it, what came before it. But if energy, as you say, and that goes with the laws of thermodynamics, Jen says maybe God, and this is maybe God was energy from the Big Bang of creation, or maybe God was the energy that existed before time, before space, before matter, and therefore was all of existence in a non-physical, non-linear puddle. You see, even I'm doing it now, putting it into a puddle. It was everything. It was all that existed. So we then say, oh, but what created God? Maybe it didn't need creating. Maybe it simply is, and got bored of being like that. So give me something limited and physical so I can understand it a bit better. So let's put it in a box, let's put it in a border, let's put it in a boundary, just so that I can understand it a little bit more.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
No.
sometimes we overthink things. Yeah.
Yeah. Suzanne Symes says she's got to leave in a little while, but can she just ask how is Reverend Alan?
Right. So thank you, Susan. Yeah, please keep sending your healing thoughts. He's poorly. He's hopefully getting some answers today. So do stay tuned for more information coming through. Christine's kind of like the direct report on this one for Facebook. So the honest answer is at the moment, we just don't know. But we are waiting to find out. But I do know he desperately needs healing, as much as can be sent from that infinite, non-linear, outside of time, outside of borders source.
Yes. Yes.
And thank you.
Couple of quick, just to pick up the theme again before I pick up Jean's question to you there. Yeah. Paul says, but in the Bible, in Genesis, don't it say God created man in his own image? Michael replied to that, it does, but that was written by a man who hasn't seen God. Hang on, my comments have just jumped. Stop. Hasn't seen God, so was only the assumption. My goldfish could also look like God.
Your goldfish does look like God, and so do we. But we're talking about what image, because there are two tellings of Genesis. There are two tellings of creation in the Bible, and that is, Cherry Ann, pay attention. We've been talking about this today. In the understanding and knowledge of the time. And so we all work within the understanding, the knowledge, and the conceptual framework of the time in which we exist. And if you think we're limited and borderful now, 5,000 years ago, even more so. The image that we are created in is the spirit form. In other words, the best way to describe it is the simplest way to describe it. If God is a big bubble of energy, we are a little bubble of energy. That's the image I truly believe, and have been led to believe, that that's what they were talking about. But because we needed and cleaved to physical understanding, we see it as this. But you know what? Geeking out this week, Babylon 5, I'm reminded of a Jakar story where he said that he was asked, God, what is God? And he said, if we shine a light at the wall, we become so enthralled by the beauty, so enthralled by that image, we perceive it to be God rather than being a byproduct of the search. And if we stand in front of that light, suddenly God looks just like us. But it is the other way around. It's the soul. Because we keep getting told the answer over and over and over and over and over again. But because it's too simple, we ignore it. God is love. We all search for love. We all try and express love. We all try and create love. We all try and reflect love. The image is love. God is love. We needn't to know no more than that. And I'm talking about unconditional love. And if we bring things down to its basic core, simple terms, as BP phrase, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. If we break it down to its smallest denominator, that God is love, and that we spend our lives in search of either someone to love or be loved by, then that is the truest image of which we are created in, that quest for love, that quest for understanding. And the journey of that quest for love is the adventure and the best part of it. And we shouldn't know it all. We shouldn't know what God looks like. And, you know, even
point.
Absolutely. And even in the descriptions that are given in scripture of God, they can easily be explained as analogies. You know, I saw the column of smoke that Moses saw. I saw the back of God. In other words, I saw the passing by of God, as in I saw the back of it. It doesn't mean to say that he actually had a head and a neck and two shoulders and a rather well-defined spine and a rather large buttocks and two spindly legs. It was just that God passed by. I saw the back of love. I saw the rear of love. I saw love from behind. In other words, it was a reflection of.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, Dawny, you're absolutely right. God is the unknown. Nobody really knows what God looks like, but God will look how we interpret what we are told, and therefore a unique image to every one of us. And what do I always say? It's not our job to tell you what God is, just to help you develop that relationship.
Yeah.
And God is
Absolutely.
defined by that relationship, which should hopefully be love.
Yeah. And knowledge and reassessment and evaluation of understanding is endless. So we redefine and refine as we go. That is almost the definition of science. There we are. So religion and science.
Now, I had a conversation about this today as well. And you know what? Quantum physics. Quantum physics. And yes, I did research just to make sure I wasn't being deceived. But once again, the newest episode of Babylon 5, what do they talk about? The observer influences and affects the observed. That is the basic principle of quantum physics. The observer of love is affected and will affect love. Our job is to grow it, to build it, to understand it. And so by doing, we grow and understand and reflect the universal energy itself. Deep.
It is. It is. And yeah, it's one where we could sit and pick it apart for
years and years and years,
and still never come to an answer that would satisfy everybody, because that's the nature of faith. That's what I keep saying. It's the nature of faith that we hold it true in our hearts, but what we hold true is very different from person to person. And yeah, Michael just put a final point on that, which sort of says, we look like light, we are reflecting and absorbing objects of light.
Yes.
We
talk about light and vibration.
the love of God and to reflect it back out into the world. It's simple.
Now,
and then, yes, go on.
Just say to me spectrum when you finish, because I want to come back on that with that word spectrum. Remind me.
Okay. Okay. Paul just made a point, which I think we touched on briefly last time. Paul says a lot of Christians say, I choose to be gay. I wasn't born that way. What are our thoughts on that?
I certainly didn't choose it.
No. It's something that I know was part of me from being young, and I think, to quote Her Royal Highness Lady Gaga, God makes no mistakes. You're on the right path, baby. You were born that way.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? It's easy for people who want to justify, and I'm going to be really brutally honest here. It is easy for people who want to justify bigotry, who do not understand that particular situation, to make comments to make it sound like it's a choice. It really, really isn't. Because if I'd have had a choice when I was a teenager, the fact that I kept things quiet for so long should be evident that it wasn't a choice. It
No,
was literally who I am, the way I am. God made me in its own image, so that is a choice. Um,
I heart your mom. I heart your mom.
so I'm with Lady Gaga.
I'm with
Uh,
Lady Gaga on that one.
and I love this. Each and every one of us have masculine and feminine energies, and we are all unique and special in our own right. Absolutely.
Bravo.
Um, when we
Bravo.
were born, we all we knew was love. It's just Earth that changes everyone. Absolutely. Um, and this is the thing. May I mention about the spectrum now? Because I'm going to
Yes,
ask
I
the
just
question.
bobbed it into the private chat
You
bit. So
did. Thank you. You did. You did. Thank you. And it kind of applies quite well. Um, we talk about the great white light being pure. And you know I have a problem with that. I hate the word pure because that is a dangerous path to step on. The purity of our way of life must not be polluted, is not words worthy of spirituality. It's very
no,
scary.
it
But
echoes for me back to other
yes, exactly.
times,
Hi,
darker
Sharon.
times.
Good to see you. So we talk about the purity of white light, but if you look at the physical manifestation of white light on Earth, it's not pure at all. It's a combination of all light.
It is. It is.
So rather than focusing on the purity of white light, focus on the absolute joy and splendor that together all the different energies, all the different light can combine to create that great white light. You know, we talk about white light as being single, but if you compress the spectrum back down, white light is made up of all light. White light is made up of a rainbow, many differences together.
Yeah.
Exactly, Jen.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we get things, even in our way of life, so arse about face, it's untrue. And if we were to
Yeah.
just think about the combination of all creates the one,
It does.
um,
It does.
you know, it puts a different angle on who we are and what we are.
Yes. Um, just to pick up that thread. Hang on. It's been bouncing around, so I'm trying to catch up. But then whoever this was talking to Paul said, "But God made us to reproduce," and Michael replied, "No, God made us to experience and learn,
Mm.
and learn within itself." For me, is the important one, because as you've said before, Nick, God gave us spirit so that it could learn about itself,
Yes.
themselves, and
I
so reproduction is just part of that experience.
and it's part
The
of the
human
process of
experience,
continuity.
yeah, and that human experience goes way beyond the simple biological act of reproduction.
Exactly.
It's nurturing that child, it's growing that child, it's as the divine energy has done with us, giving it the tools it needs to say, go on, go
Get
on.
on with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would actually challenge that view. And I know it's an old fashioned one, and I'm not going to change everybody's minds or anyone's is probably. I don't care. It's still my view, and everyone's got a right to share their views, and I'm one of those everyone. When we get thrown the phrase "God created humanity to reproduce," are you assuming then that we are a virus? Because that's the purpose of a virus, is just to reproduce.
Mm.
The other part of that is, does that mean that God has no interest in a male and female, or male or female, that cannot reproduce for whatever biological or environmental reason? Of course not. God loves everybody equally and unitedly, and it's about the learning and the growth and the understanding and the progression of the, it's about the continuation of the human life. and not everybody can be part of that genetic process, but certainly everyone can be part of that emotional and spiritual process. Yes, we've got to continue the human race, but there's about getting on for 8 billion people on the planet right now. Considering 2000, 3,000 years ago, it was about 150,000. I think we're doing all right for numbers. Um,
Yeah,
you know,
I
the
think
continuity of life is one thing, but that can't be enough. And it shouldn't be enough, because if we are to reflect the greater spirit, we must understand more than procreation. The
yeah,
procreation of love, the procreation of compassion, the procreation of understanding. And I get that people have been programmed to believe that God made us to procreate, but does that mean when you get past the menopause, that's it, God's not interested? Hi Eddie,
that's
by the way, welcome to the show. does
yeah,
that mean does that mean that someone who is sterile, God's not interested in? Absolutely not. God loves
exactly.
everyone.
That's why that's a point that Anne's just made. If that were the case, why are some women not able to reproduce?
Well done, Anne. Thank you.
Yeah, and yeah, come on. If that was the sole purpose of being alive, an amoeba doesn't actually need any other amoeba to reproduce. It can just do it itself.
Absolutely.
It,
Yeah.
it and some swordtail fish, if the last male dies out, one of the females changes gender.
Yes, this with a lot of amphibians as well. And also, it's the male seahorse that carries the child.
It is, yes. So there you go.
Yeah. Um, I think it is all about learning. We also learn to be at one with all, and that's about the bringing together of the spectrum.
Yeah, it's
And
about bringing it together to make a cohesive whole.
um, you ask away. We'll be here when you're allowed, mate. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
but the comments are coming in thick and fast. Thank you,
They
everybody.
are. Yeah, I'm getting a bit lost with the ones on my feed actually because it's a bit all over the place. What's your view on missing pheasants?
That's my brother-in-law. They've obviously gone where they want to go. It depends on what you mean by missing.
Yeah,
Hello, Paul, by the way. Good to see you, mate. Dawny said God must have had another purpose for rather than just to procreate. And what that purpose is, I feel, is not known until our last days, in which God will know what we have achieved or whether we have achieved our purpose. And yeah, Sharon,
that's
thank you. It is a fantastic topic.
it is. It
Um,
is. Oh, Daniel's in the house.
Hi, Daniel. Good to see you, buddy. Sorry, I can't bring your name up on the screen, but Facebook's still being a burden. Um, that's life, I suppose. But it is interesting that we've gone from free will to free will.
Yeah,
Um, you know,
it
so
is.
mother-in-law is putting him in his place.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but it is important to understand that we do get concepts flipped on their heads, because we need, and me and Eunice and Mum were actually, and Daryl as well, we were all sat on the stage last night after church talking about just this, about borders and boundaries and boxes. um the more we put things in boxes, the more we separate. The purpose is to come together. So rather than and it is like that jigsaw puzzle. If God is a big old picture, we are the bits of the puzzle broken down, examining each piece, so that when we get put back together, we can see the bigger picture much better, much clearer, understand it, see the details. Um,
Paul, the pheasants have gone home with the bees.
yes, yes.
The bees have all gone home to their home planet.
Yes, you watched that episode of Doctor Who too.
I did. Yeah.
Yes.
Stolen Earth. God home.
Um,
Linda, you dirty, dirty stop out.
I know it wasn't. It was nearly midnight when we got home from church last night. We didn't leave the hall until 11:30. Um, yeah,
It, I get so fed up of labels. The only thing labels are good for are tins of beans. It,
absolutely. And so
that
long
would
as it
make,
says beans and the date, I'm happy.
yeah, because I mean, could make tea very interesting if you just had cans in your cupboard. But otherwise, labels are just meh. I mean,
Yeah,
talking about spectrum, if we view human beings or any living thing as being on a spectrum of alive and dead and male and female and yellow and green, what, why
yeah,
it would make life so much easier. It you know, today my hair's nearly pink because it's washing out, but
yeah,
it could be nearly blue, it could be nearly male, nearly female, nearly straight, nearly gay, nearly
yeah.
whatever. It doesn't matter. And live your truth, no matter what that is. I think it's all just too easy to, and it's a human instinct. I know it
It
is
is.
to
Of course, it
look
is. Yeah,
somebody up and down and make snap judgments. It's
yeah,
so easy to do. It but it's just, it causes so many problems when um, you have things that are needlessly labeled. There are some interesting YouTube videos actually about things that are pointlessly gendered, like combs for men. It goes through hair. Why does it have to be for men? Um,
yeah,
you know, I like a lot of more feminine fragrances, so I buy a lot of perfumes rather than aftershaves. Um, um, oh, Karen, sorry, I'm just reading Karen's comment. I hope you and Michael had a happy wedding day, Tony. Not a happy wedding day for a gay couple. Just an example. Yes,
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 exactly, exactly. It's your, it's pointlessly labeled. Why do things have to be pointlessly labeled? There are times,
yeah,
obviously, you know, when things need a label, but when you've got a bag of roasted salted peanuts that say may contain nuts,
yeah, yeah,
really, it just, yeah, it's craziness for me, and it is human instinct to make judgments about things. The trick for me is the point you've realized you've done it, stop, take a breath,
yes,
and then reevaluate.
yeah,
Because it is, when we say you walk through the door of the Rainbow Project, there is no judgment. There is, it's human nature, you do, but you take a breath
yeah,
and
yeah,
you just stop and think, let this person live their truth, let them come in and introduce themselves
yeah.
to us, and there you go. Yeah, it's craziness, Christine, just because
It is.
you're perceived as a certain size, a certain ethnicity, a certain gender, that all of these other stereotypes must follow. And it's so not true. It's
It
so not
is
true.
so not true. In actual fact, I always hark back to a wonderful, wonderful statement. We talk about race all the time. You know, race this, race that, race the other. There
What's
is
wrong with
only
human
one
race?
human, there is only one race. It's the human race because everything else is cultural and regional determination. Um,
Mm-hmm.
People who live in hotter countries have evolved to protect themselves, and that people in cooler countries have evolved to be able to absorb more heat. People have, changed, evolved over time. Their shape has changed to suit the environment. So there is only one race, the human race. Everything else
Mm-hmm.
is cultural and regional determinations. And race was only created just to separate anyway. Races were only created to separate, because you can't hurt your own race, but you can hurt the other.
Yeah.
And that was what the idea behind it was. I think it's disgusting. I think it's awful what we do to ourselves and each other. If we were to just drop those barriers and drop those walls, inside of us is organs and blood and bone and muscle. Everything else hangs off of that.
Yeah.
We should be more concerned with what's inside that creation of the divine, that reflection of the divine. We should be more concerned with what that's feeling, thinking, and doing than everything else.
Yeah.
Because that's the only way we can progress and move forward collectively, together, listening to each other's views, listening to what each other has got to say, and accepting that although we might not always agree on absolutely everything, the basics of it we always do.
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
Truly.
Yeah. Okay. Lisa Hunt says toddlers don't see colour or race, they just see their friend.
Yes.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Yes. And Daniel says, I have love for a gay friend of mine. I'm a married straight lad. I hate labels. We are all... Hang on, let's jump again. I hate labels. We are all one. We are born the same. We bleed the same. And we end up in the higher realms the same. Coming from Daniel, that's a huge statement.
Here,
I love
here.
it. And then Michael's posed a question or a point. Maybe God's mission is to find out just how stupid we can be.
Do you know what? Actually, that reminds me of something else as well. I was talking about once before. You know how that old saying is, God knows you, God knows how how broad your shoulders are, and would never give you any more than you can handle. Maybe life is about growing bigger shoulders. But if you then take that a step further, there's an old saying that can God create a rock so heavy even he can't lift it? What if that's the wrong question? What if the question is, can God create a puzzle so difficult and so complex that even he can't understand it? That puzzle is us. And all these things and all this confusion is God getting its own back. And that, you know, God's sitting up there thinking, my God, you're worrying about the most stupid. My God. Yeah, of course he is. My God, you're thinking about the most stupidest things. Focus on what matters. You know, we focus on which is better, Twitter or Facebook. We focus on whose view is better of this and that and the other. It goes into religion. It goes into politics. It goes into, you know, social media. Let's focus on fixing the things that are broken. Let's focus on holding each other's hands and dragging each other forward if we're struggling. Let's focus on sharing compassion and love and light, because those are the things that matter. Everything else is, as that lovely guy on Facebook said a few weeks ago, conceptual frameworks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And that is such a wonderful phrase. Everything that we talk about is a conceptual framework. The application of them is what's different. I do like that. I like to think we should be like E.T., where its heart shines. If we'd done that and allow our heart to shine to others and help others' hearts shine.
Yeah. Yeah. And Karen's just off topic. So proud of myself. An OAP was short for his shopping. He was going to put an item back. It was only 25p. So grateful that I paid for it. Oh, that made my heart shine.
Yeah. Passing it forward. Simple acts of kindness, if we are able to perform them, makes all the difference to people.
Oh, Dawny's point there and Lisa Hunt's point that's just popped up on my feed tied together quite nicely. Why does God have to be up there? Surely he's everywhere. Same as our loved ones in spirit, just curious. Exactly, Dawny. But Lisa Hunt asks, is Earth plane where we're supposed to learn before we progress on? Thoughts, Nicholas?
So, on Dawny's comment, you're absolutely right. Totally agree. We see the spirit world as an interpenetrating universe. That's the posh word that Lynn gave me when I was developing. And it's absolutely right. We perceive up as high, high as good, good is light, so that must mean God. Also, historically, we are drawn to the light, so we rise up, and all of our cultural terms and uses are focused on upward being good, but it's absolutely not true. All around is more accurate on what God is, because if we are a part of God and if we are the universe made manifest, then God is within, not up or out. And so once again, it's that human conception, that human perspective of wanting to put borders, labels. I still do it. I'm human, mostly. And so you're absolutely right. God is within, around, and is, and that's a is. That's all we need to know. And in actual fact, in Christianity, they use it as a name. But when Moses said to God, "Who are you?" God said, "I am." It wasn't a name, it was a description. It says, "I exist." That should be enough for you. Don't have a name, I just exist.
Yep.
Just run me by. It was Lisa, wasn't it?
Lisa's, is the Earth plane where we're supposed to learn before we progress? And Michael picked that up and said, we need to focus on understanding that we are fallible and born to make mistakes to learn from, which is the point I think I would make to Lisa, that we are here to have an experience.
Yes.
And to learn. And it's something I said to somebody this morning, actually, that our job is to be the best version of us we can be, and to grow and develop into the best version of us that we can be for us, not for anybody else, not to fit a mold, to experience that, and to learn as we go along. Yeah, we're going to make mistakes. I nearly said it then. I nearly did a blooper reel. We nearly make mistakes, and we all make mistakes, and we all mess up. As long as we can put our hands up and say, crap, I really shouldn't have done that, and oh, sorry, I've learned my lesson, that's enough. That's what the divine wants, is for us to acknowledge the mistakes we make and to move on, to learn from it and to move on. Keep making those mistakes, and it's going to start thinking, hang on a minute, you've not learned anything, have you? But let's not overthink it. Let's just experience. And it's not about progressing once we pass, Lisa. For me, it's about continuing to progress.
It goes back for me to that jigsaw puzzle. The physical world is where we examine ourselves, the spirit world, our lessons on a limited, it's like a sandbox. We're in the sandbox playing and figuring things out, and we take that learning back with us, but we will continue to learn and grow, because the more you are, one thing we do know that is absolutely right about this world is that questions always end up invariably leading to more questions and more questions and more questions and more questions. There is no absolute answer. There is just different views and directions of seeing it. So I do believe that we are here to learn, absolutely, and in a more limited way than we would in the spirit world. But I think if we separate our spirit existence from our physical existence, we're not giving justice to the beauty of creation, that it's all part of a journey. Our journey, we say, is eternal, so therefore our learnings and our lessons are eternal. Doesn't mean to say that we're ever going to get an answer, but it doesn't mean to say that we're not either. I've got to say, I love what Eunice put in conclusion to that. Let's face it, we all hate not knowing, so we question it, therefore we talk about it. E equals D, development.
Exactly. Couldn't have put that better myself.
But we can
And
only develop if we talk about it and learn from each other.
which is why one of the reasons I enjoy our Friday afternoons so much, because
Yeah.
we explore things, and we pull things apart and look at it and examine things from a spiritual philosophical point of view. And nobody has the right or wrong answers. Just because we're sat here with bits of plastic shoved in our collars don't make us experts. We're
No.
here to explore things just as much as you are. And Paul's on fire today, really is, with his questions and things. Someone asked a question the other day: can family members be in more than one place at a time? Family members, spirit side, i.e., myself getting a message from my mum, I'm in Scotland, and my sister getting a message from mum, she's in Wokingham.
Well, if we were to, for example, remember that we are supposed to not put borders and boundaries on things, and that we are an energetic form in the world of spirit. Imagine for a second, and this is an analogy, this is a simple analogy. Imagine for a second that energy, and therefore the world of spirit, is fluid, because it's the best I can use as an example. So here we go. This is the spirit world now. If I were to take a drop of water and plop it in there, that's our relatives, would it stay in the shape, or would it blend and mix and spread and become one with that energy? Yes, it would. So therefore, that means that that energy is reaching all corners of creation at once. And
Yeah.
so, yes, in basic terms, absolutely. Because once again, we have to move away from putting physical borders on the spirit world. It's like, oh, I don't know, for instance, saying that if you teach trance, you can't do it online because you need to be in the same room as that person to stop them from being harmed or being taken over. But if you're not allowed to touch that person while they're in trance, then what can you do online any different to in the room? We are spiritual beings, and in order to protect and help someone, we need to link into the world of spirit. And you don't need to be in the same room, because spirit reaches the four corners of the universe,
Yeah.
literally. And so, yes, they can be with you, with your sister, with your cousin, with your uncle, with your brother. They can be with the postman and everyone all at once, because they are energy. So that's my view.
Yeah. 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 Um, and I love Daniel's comment. He says, in my opinion, we're in a matrix kind of universe. We have the physical world, the paranormal world, and then a whole world of unknown.
Because I
Would you
frequently
like? Would you
say,
do like? But no, it is. Um, I completely agree. And for me, having taught and developed people and brought people on into this way of life, for me, it's about teaching people in a way that is relevant to them. Some
yes,
people learn by rote. Some people learn by sitting in a room with people and being chalked and talked at. I sort of learn by lots of different methods. It all just it all blends for me. So in terms of teaching and sitting in circles and things, I don't see why there's this hang up about online is bad,
yeah,
because you sit in a circle in a church, you don't actually have physical contact with people.
no.
But that's anyway. That's just my two penneth on that one so much. And there is no spoon. Yes,
That sums it up for me. That's why I love the Matrix analogy. There is no spoon.
just remember that there is no spoon. Yeah, Paul just says thank you so much for that. Suzanne Symes has got to go now, so she's going to
Bye,
keep having the
Suzanne.
report.
Nice to see
Bye,
you, doll.
Suzanne. But yeah, that would be my 2 pence on that one as well, Nick. That in and that again comes back to that thing you were talking about earlier about focusing on what's important. If you're focusing on the spoon, you're missing a lot of other
you're missing the knife and the fork and
things,
everything
you
else.
know,
Yeah,
and all the other bits that go in it. Yeah, but yeah, we need to stop sweating the small stuff, really, don't we? And focus on the bigger picture. Yeah. Is the spirit world just another dimension?
Depends, and once again, it depends on the perspective of dimensions. I get a little bit grumpy about dimensions, because people say, "Oh, we're going back to the fifth dimension." Maybe we are, but everyone will, because that's called dying. You know, we change energetic form. I would say that in the general terms, yes, it is, but it depends on what your view of what a dimension actually is. I if we're an interpenetrating universe, then dimensions are different layers of the universe, then absolutely yes.
I see it. Somebody said it earlier in the comments, and I can't think who it was, about frequencies and tuning in and things. And for me, that's the analogy for me. They were talking about radio waves. Somebody mentioned radio waves earlier, penetrating all around the world.
Yes.
And it's about tuning into the right frequencies. And that's how I see it, is we vibrate at different frequencies. And when the physical body dies, the spirit vibrates and moves up into the higher frequencies, which is where I feel you get the higher and lower, up there and down there things from, because it's about, we vibrate at a higher frequency as spirit. So as mediums, we have to sort of meet and can't. But it's interesting that they talk about shifting frequency. Yeah, exactly. We talk about raising our vibrations to meet spirit. I find I do the opposite. I quieten and still.
Yes.
To allow their energies to penetrate more of mine.
Yes.
And since I've been doing that, that's when my method of working changed, and I get that much more clear sentience and the feeling of the energy. It's become much more, yeah.
Absolutely. I'm drawing a picture.
Have we seen Insidious? Is thinking about the other side of life. I've not seen Insidious. I must watch it.
I haven't. No, I haven't. I've been told to. But if you imagine for a second that this is a pile of sand, and we are in our lives, as we well know it, covered in what's it do.
Mm-hmm.
We're covered in it. In order to make our light grow brighter, we can either pump more energy into it and risk it not being seen, or just slowly clear away the doo-doo to reveal our light. And we talk about raising our vibrations, but actually I agree with you, Tony. We have to slow things down of our physical existence, clear away the detritus of our physical existence.
Yeah.
So that our light is visible above the detritus.
Yeah. Not everybody knows, but Nick knows there's stuff going on in our lives at the minute, and I've not been able to work properly because my mind's going at 50 miles an hour all of the time, and I can't quieten my mind enough to allow that connection to come through. So, and I miss it. I do miss it, but it's, yeah, you're right. You've got to be in a place where you can quieten your mind, calm your energy, and just allow the energy to flow through and your light to shine out. Karen wants to know when we're having a Zoomie.
what's a Zoom?
Zoom,
Oh
Zoom,
yes,
a
Zoom
Zoom
room.
room.
Zoom room.
Yeah, yeah. We have yes, Ruthie. Yes, 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 yes. So it's not raising your energy; it's lowering your frequency to allow the spirit to shine through.
One of the things that I always remember is that we are told that we have to go up and they have to come down and meet in the middle. It's harder for them to lower their vibrations because they're having a whale of a time.
Yeah,
You know, so we do have to be patient with spirit because they have to make more of an effort than we do, because we literally, when you think what you were saying about the vibrations, we have to slow down our breathing, we have to slow down our mind, and that allows our light to rise above it.
yeah,
And it is hard for spirit to come down to our frequency, but they still do it because they give a damn.
yeah. And let's face it, they want to. They want to get that message across, to share the love, to share the light, and so they're going to do it. They're going to do it, and it's um as we become calmer, we actually raise our vibration. That's an interesting way to look at it. Yeah,
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 we slow down the physical to raise up the spiritual, or reveal, reveal the
reveal.
spiritual by slowing down the physical, slow down the physical to reveal the spiritual. You're absolutely, yeah, I'm with you, I'm with you.
Yeah, Lisa, I will put you in my book as well. Lisa's just put, I know how you feel, Tony, still recovering from a life that nearly diminished me. And now I have to have peace in mind. It is about the finding what's important and what matters in your life. And you need to find a place in your life where you can accept that people, like we've been saying for most of the day, people have different viewpoints, different perspectives on things. They're coming at things from a very different angle. And sometimes people just can't be helped. And people you love can't be helped. There are people in my life who I love them to bits, but there's nothing I can do for them in terms of spirituality, in terms of anything, because they're just made that way. They're happy in that little bubble, and they can just exist, and that's fine, absolutely fine. But you have to be at a point in your life where you can be at peace with that, and you can let that negativity be over there and just
Yes,
let it be, and just hold on to the fact that the thing I can do for them is I can pray for them, I can hold them in my thoughts, I can send out all the love I can in the world to them, and just hope that they find peace, whatever their peace looks like. And that's, like we were saying about Reverend Allen and everybody, that is an important part of what we do as spiritualists. It's about sending out that love and that light into the great infinity and allowing it to be, and let it find where it needs to go. And Lisa's just said, I find being in the countryside helps. I'm out on the coast at the minute, and that helps me.
yeah, definitely,
It it,
definitely.
it, it is, yeah. And
I will
that's
be
me.
back in 1 second. I've just got to
Okay.
do apologize.
And I'm now sat. I'm just reading Karen's. I made a medium cry yesterday with a reading I did, and that meant more to me as I knew I had her relative. Exactly, Karen. It, as a medium, it's important that you prove your link, that you have life eternal, you have that connection to life eternal, and it's so important when you see that recognition on a sitter's face, and you know that they have recognized that information and that evidence of who you've got. It's very, very important. um Dawny, would it not be better for us to raise our energies to make it easier for spirits to meet us? Yeah, as we've said previously in some of the comments, Donny, that by stilling our mind, we actually raise vibration a little bit, and then they do sort of meet us. In, and it is so hard for spirit to bring their energy down to us. It's much harder to do that. Sorry, I'm just looking at my comments as well because I can only see my comments on my phone. Yeah, Michael says the sea calms him as well. It's lovely to be out there and to look at the seaside and think. The sea is incongruous to me because we see the horizon line, and then you think there's just so much more beyond. It's like stepping into spiritualism. You see the sound.
Oh, is it me or is it you?
And see the shore.
Ooh.
And then you look up and you go, oh, Lordy, look at all of that. I think it may be me because the weather's turning and because we're on a satellite system. We're on a satellite internet system. It really does affect the connections we get.
Yes. Now, it's funny you should mention about the ocean, about the sea, and how many people love being by the sea. If we think of energy as a big ocean of unity, isn't it funny that people find it so peaceful to be near a large mass of multiple things that you don't fully understand, don't always know what makes it up, and it's there?
Yeah.
It's there, and you love being near it. That mystery. It goes back to what Eunice said about loving the mystery. We love the mystery and the magic and the mystique. So as much as we keep getting miserable about not having all the answers we want, we still love it. We still love it.
Yeah.
And that analogy of an ocean, you know, we love and we find it peaceful because it, in some way, maybe it reminds us of when we're in the womb being surrounded by fluid, you know, although I couldn't wait to get out the sunroof myself, you know, that ocean of souls, it's very reflective and very reminiscent of being blended with this unending, you, like you said, you can't see beyond the horizon. You know, that's why when I did my meditation CD, I called it swimming in the power rather than sitting in the power, because it's like drifting in that ocean and being part of something so bigger than us.
Exactly. It's just so peaceful. It's so peaceful. And again, even having your feet in the sand, those tiny grains that once were rocks and cliffs and things, and and these tiny grains of sand that move and are fluid underneath you support your weight. And it's just, it blows your mind. It blows my mind being by the coast.
Spiritualism for me, that's what you've just described. It's like when we meditate, although we get calmer, we move out of the physical state and into an altered state. We're able to think clearly and communicate with spirit easily. Absolutely. Eddie says sand in the hard drive. That was when we was glitching briefly, but I just want to, I love this. When you are near the ocean, you use your five senses. Now, if I might do a shameless plug, I'm doing a workshop online because I can. On the 27th of, calm down dear, on the 27th of August. And it's called The Way of the Candle. And it is actually dealing with all 12 spirit senses. Because there is a list of 12 spiritual senses. And that workshop that I'm doing on the 27th deals with a candle, just dealing with all 12 spirit senses. So if you're interested, you know, have a look at my feed. But yeah, it is, you're absolutely right. You do use all five senses when you're near an ocean because you have to. You know, it overwhelms you so that you have to, you know, rely on all senses. And I'd say probably even more than five.
And I've just got to share. I wish I could put it on screen for you, but I just have to share Daniel's comment. It's the tides. You need to be at the right place at the right time to see the beauty of the water splashing on your feet. The same comes with spirit. They will come to you when you're at the right place and at the right time.
Brilliant. Brilliant.
And
Yes,
Lisa
yes.
Hunt says, can we please send her a reminder of that? She would love that. That
Oh
workshop.
wow, yes. Yeah, I will share it after the show. I will share it because I've done a poster. I will share it to the Continue the Debate group page, and I'll also post it in the comments.
Yes.
I'm also thinking about doing a Q&A on creation versus evolution because I like being a git at the moment.
You like stirring that honey pot, don't you, mate? You're
I
upsetting
mean,
the bees.
I'm a right bloody stirrer at the minute, I tell you. For those that are in circle, we have been playing with the candle in preparation. And Jen says, I just did the taste bit and had lots of stuff today, so much that my mouth was watering. Excellent candle thing. Thank you, darling. And Kaz is saying, yes, yes, yes. I think that's about me being a stirring bitch. And Eddie says, this is really, really quite a good comment, actually. With sensory autism, I have a lot of senses turned up. Whilst it may cause issues in everyday life, it seems to help with mediumship. Yes, 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 yes.
Yeah.
Amen to that.
Absolutely.
It's used it as an example today. The Lynx effect. If only it was so true. But yes, those senses, and just using one candle to help exercise our spirit senses is what it's all about. So I will share about it. I think it's £8 for a 4-hour workshop on a Sunday afternoon.
Good.
Well, I like to keep it reasonable.
That's so cheap. So cheap.
Well, it means more people might be interested in taking part,
I know.
But do you know what, Tony? It's 5:20 already.
No. Wow. That has flown. Don't forget Thursday poster.
Yes, I keep getting in trouble for not sharing the posters soon enough. And, it's fair comment because I think I did today's poster at about 2:00. So I am getting better. Eddie says I'll give you a £5.
Daniel says he's still got the old question on his mind: euthanasia.
Yes, we haven't forgotten. That is in our list for our podcast.
It is. It's a podcast session which we have got to do. And Kaza says we need to have a date nailed down for a Zoom get together, and we need to have the podcast dates nailed down ASAP as well.
We really, really do. We really, really do. Guys, thank you so much for your support, but also your patience. I know things have been a little bit behind the curve for both of us and all of us, really. But your patience, your compassion, and your kindness really does make a difference to our days. I mean, I don't think Tony will mind me saying this. When we both logged on this afternoon at about 4:45, it's like, you all right? Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Right. We were so flat, but coming together with you wonderful, wonderful people really does make a difference to us. And this is our part of the learning and the journey and the experience and the raising. Here it comes again, the raising of our vibrations.
Yes.
So thank you because you really do make a difference to us.
Just wanted to throw out before we log off. It's something I mentioned to Nick. We keep talking about healing books, and mine at the minute is just, scribbles in a book. What we thought was, how would you feel about either attaching a page to the Facebook group or something where you can put names forward? And I know I always say my prayers about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night when I'm just before I go to sleep. So if I'll look through it, a page or whatever, a list, just before I go to bed, and include all of those people that you guys want to add to my prayer list every night. So it's up to you. Up to you. It's something I've thought about.
We can easily create a sub page to the two Revs continue the debate page. It's something we can do. If you're interested, if you want it, we will do it. You know, there are so many. In actual fact, it's just I've literally gone to the page, and it says create a community chat. You know, and so we can add a community chat to Spiritline continue the debate as a group page, so that you can use that as a healing page.
And any healers out there, or anybody who says prayers or sends out thoughts on a regular basis, you could just log on to it, have a quick look through, and ask for those names to be included in your evening rituals, whatever they may look like. There is a discussion section on the page where I put the photo, says Daniel.
Sorry, what was that? I was just reading a message.
Daniel says there's a discussion section on the page where he put the photo.
Yes, and that's the discussion, the discussion chats. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
We will create one.
We will. It's just a thought. I used to do it on when I had my own web page. I used to have a healing board where people could just add names, and it got used. So yeah. I'm just catching up. I know we're winding down, but the comments still keep coming in. Would I add Alison Edmonds to my
cousin?
list? Yeah, no problem. I will do that now.
I have just had this is, you know, sorry about the silence, bit of breaking news, but not. There is no different news with Alan yet. Still waiting for more information. So please continue to send your healing thoughts to him. They're trying to. I think there was some talk about a pump for his meds because they're not getting in. I think the phrase "mouth and badger's arse" was used. So yeah, he's needing. Yeah, it was his words. His mouth feels like a badger's arse. So at least he is still keeping himself. You know, that is, I think, always important. Be yourself, keep yourself, and keep being strong within yourself is always vitally important. Yeah. He ain't losing any of his attitude, trust me.
Good.
So that is always positive to hear.
Absolutely. But thank you, everybody. It's been amazing as always. It really has. I love it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Tony, and thank you, everyone, from my end. It's been a pleasure. We'll be back next week. I will share the links and everything to being able to do that workshop, the way of the candle. Sounds spooky. But thank you all so much for your commitment, your compassion, and your comments. They really do matter. Both those that I've seen coming through YouTube and my half of Facebook, and also everyone commenting on Tony's side too. Thank you so much. But from me, it's good night and God bless.
And from him, good night and God bless.
And very briefly, I have no idea, but I will ask him when I speak to him.
Yeah.
And so on that, there we go. Here's the update. Thank you, Christine. It was hard to read. So an Alan update. He's been asleep all day, trying not to get anxious. The bag of fluid they left on his table this morning is still there. A nurse said they haven't got any pumps. His mouth feels like a badger's arse. His words. I said he can he have a sweet, and he said he doesn't want to do anything detrimental. I told him to ring his bell and demand the fluid to be put up because he's nil by mouth and can't even have a drink of water. I told him to put himself first. He said that's alien to me. That's typical of Alan.
Mhm.
So if anyone's near the hospital he's at, go in there and ring his bloody bell for him. And yes, I did say that. Thank you for the update, Christine, and we send our love to all those in need of healing, as always. But from me, it's good night and God bless.
And from him, good night and God bless. Good night.
God bless everyone. Be good. Speak soon.